It has been 3 weeks since the last update. I've been gone. The last 2 weeks I've been out of state. The last week I've been in Alaska on an inter-passage cruise, which was absolutely magical. I've traveled all over the world and recommend that cruise as probably the best, if not the best, experience I've ever had traveling. The garden has changed dramatically. We were very, very fortunate to have some dear friends take care of the garden for us while we were gone. They were here, I think, probably every day. I asked them to come and feed once, and they were here, I think, probably daily, harvesting and weeding and pruning, and they did a fantastic job. They did leave some things on here so that we could do some harvesting ourselves. Notice I've got some poop here. That's the first thing I look for when I'm in a garden, and that indicates that there are some insects in my garden, and that's when I will go ahead and use the soapy water insecticide that I mix up myself. Please check my video on the soapy water insecticide, how to mix it and how to use it. When we came back from the cruise, we walked, first thing we did, we dropped our luggage and came outside to the backyard before it got too dark, and we were just amazed at the growth of the garden here. Everything is growing fantastic. I could not be more pleased. They did an excellent job, and I'm very, very happy with what I'm seeing here. There is a ton of fruit left here in the garden, and we were quite amazed how much was here. And then we walked in the house and opened the refrigerator, and we were completely blown away with all, the entire refrigerator was stuffed full of tomatoes and green peppers and tons of cucumbers. Not exactly tons, but a lot of cucumbers. They had harvested the onions for us and dried them. I was very grateful for their great work and taking care of the garden while we were gone. As you can see, I've got hanging watermelon here, and this watermelon actually is growing just crazy. I don't even know where the start and end of it is here. This here is growing off the vine, so I need to come through and cut this vine right here. Once the melon starts growing on the vine, then you cut it so it stops continuing to grow, because it'll keep on growing. But I've got hanging watermelon, I've got watermelon down on the bottom. There's another hanging watermelon there. I've got cantaloupe just all over the place, and these cantaloupe will stay right there until they're ripe, or until I decide to pick them. And then when they ripe, they'll just slip off and fall onto the ground. So you can let them fall by themselves, or you can just cut them off early. But everything is growing great. The automatic watering system worked fabulously well. And as you can see, I've got some damage here that I need to take care of and remove some weeds. A lot of growth, a lot of new plants. This has grown up. Something just flew out. I didn't see what that was. I try to get out early in the garden to kind of catch the bugs and the birds and see what's going on, and I'm a little late this morning. But this has grown up, and now it's going back down, and so I've got to figure out which way this is going and get it organized. Just like to kind of keep the garden in a little bit of control so it's easy to manage. He left us, holy cow, look at that cucumber. Giant. We've got cucumbers everywhere, including the ones that are in the kitchen, and they're just awesome looking. My wife tried to put some groceries in the refrigerator, and she was hard pressed to do it because of all the cucumbers. We've had very good yields from these straight 8 cucumbers. Oh, here's another one right down here. That needs to get picked right now. And from the burpless cucumbers. They're just everywhere. There goes another bug. I'm going to have to check closer. So, a lot of production here. The bell peppers are looking great. As you can see, I've got these tied up just to give them some support. Without tying them up, they'll drag down like this here. So I'll need to get this one tied up just to keep it off the ground. We've got some really nice size bell peppers here too. The sweet potatoes have just really taken over this whole bed here, and I'm going to have to remove the red potatoes today. I'll harvest those. You can see that the plants have not quite given up. We still have some growth on here, which means the potatoes are still growing, but they're right here underground, and there's a lot of them down here. So just to make room and to keep things simple, I'm going to go ahead and remove the potatoes. I probably could have gotten a larger harvest if I let them go, but we got the sweet potatoes wanting to come over here. Once they start encroaching, it'll be too much of a hassle for me to maintain them. But what I thought were cantaloupe are actually squash, and I think it's zucchini. But I came in here yesterday and looked, and we've got some big zucchini in here, and there's another one I'll take a picture of on the other side. One of the last things we did before we left was put up bird netting to keep the birds out, and it looks like it's worked. I don't see that the birds have gotten in. These are some leftover green bean plants that my friend had that he let me use, and so I put those up, and they were maybe, I don't know, 1.5 feet taller, maybe 2 feet when I left, and they are now 7 feet to the top, and as you can see, they're growing up through the bird netting there. This is actually, I think they call it animal netting. I'll have a link below this video. Works very well. Very inexpensive. And what I did is I used my retention system here to just hold that in. It's working out great. It's 7 feet wide, and so the arch is 7 feet wide, so I was able just to staple it across the top and staple across the side. So that's one piece on the top, another piece going all the way down to the bottom. That's 7 feet there, and just hanging down. You can see it works really well. And then I just roll it up, and I use this here to hold it up out of the way. But everything's growing great. We have lots and lots of tomatoes, and I couldn't believe how many are still on the vine here. And this is an interesting tomato plant. This is what I was experimenting with, having this one wanted to split out to 3 different plants, so I did that and thought, well, I'll have 2 go forward and 1 go back, but as you can see, it split right here, and so I'm going to have to take care of that to stop that problem. I don't know if I can save the plant, but we'll see what happens. We came back from the cruise, and I noticed that there are deficiencies in my tomato plants. And one of the things that my friend mentioned is that he was very frustrated because he saw problems and didn't know what to do. Unfortunately, I didn't tell him about the awesome Mittleider gardening course book. And what I simply did was I went in, got out my gardening course book, which I had with me on the cruise. I was reading it again for the 3rd time, and went to the deficiency section, went through the symptoms of the deficiencies, and was able to know immediately what I needed to do for my tomato plants. And so I came out here, added the calcium and magnesium and nitrogen that they needed, and watered that in yesterday. That alone, to me, is worth the $20 for the book. It is by far the best gardening book I have ever read, and certainly my Bible to the garden. You can see I've got some worms in there eating up my tomatoes, and so I mixed up a batch of Thuricide, or what's known as BT, and sprayed that last night. It was late last night when I finished in the garden. As you can see, I did some thinning and some pruning here. I need to get that cleaned up. And it was late when I put the netting down, so I didn't get the netting all the way down. And it looks like you can see that one of the birds came in this morning, probably the one I scared off when I walked out here, and he had a nice breakfast of tomatoes. Now, people say birds don't like tomatoes. I promise you, birds love juicy, ripe tomatoes. I am surrounded with water. I've got swimming pools with adjoining neighbors. We've got a bird bath in the front yard, a bird bath directly next to us in my neighbor's backyard, next to our garden. There is plenty of water in this area, and the birds are coming for our delicious tomatoes. There is my moisture gauge. You can see that the automatic watering system has come on about an hour and a half ago, and we have plenty of water. In addition to all of the tomatoes and fruit that they've already harvested for us, and made meals for a family that was in need, and took over produce to my family across the street. There's that zucchini I was mentioning to you on the other side. That is definitely getting picked today. You can just look at how loaded these tomato plants are, just covered with tomatoes. And all we're really doing is letting the automatic watering system do its thing and feeding them once a week with the weekly feed, which I need to do today. I want to show you my wife's garden over here too. This is not a weed, this is, I think it's actually chickweed. She's growing that. But here are some tomatoes in here. This happens to be a Cherokee purple tomato bush here. And I just want to show you this one tomato. Uh-oh, something ate that last night. I told her she needed to come out and spray with BT. You see all the worm poop out here? And that means that we need to spray this with thermicide, which is an organic insecticide, to take care of that problem. But she's got the netting here also. I do want to show you this incredibly huge tomato here. That is absolutely gigantic. I don't know if that the picture can show you, but it's probably easily 4 inches across the top, if not 4.5, 5. It's at least 4.5 inches across the top, no question. And there's another big one back there too. But things are growing very well now that she's using the Mittleider weekly feed. But we do have a pest problem over here that needs to be taken care of. Some areas don't have pest problems because they have full seasons. Here in Houston, we have a very mild winter, and so the insects have a chance to live from year to year. You notice this support right here? You see that it's broken. Our friends told us that 3 of my wife's plants fell to the ground because the mason line that she's using broke, and I warned her that was going to happen, and it was going to probably happen while we were on the cruise, and 3 of her plants came crashing down, and our friends did the best that they could to bring that back up. But please don't use mason line. Use the 170 to 210 pound baler twine that we recommend and wrap it around the tomatoes like you just saw with my tomatoes. Don't spend all the time and money and effort having big beautiful tomato plants and then have them come crashing down on you. Oh, you can see we've got some grapes growing here. Just put that in the day before we left. They are doing very well. And my wife's got some great looking tomatoes over here. The Swiss chard was pretty much completely thinned out when we left, but it's certainly grown back quite heavily. Here is the other muscadine grape. Those are what we plant here in Houston. The kale has certainly sprung back. We have nice fresh small kale here, baby kale. Again, you see we need to spray here for insects. The strawberries have just exploded again. We had some rains while we were gone, and the lightning storms, and that nitrogen came out from the rain, and it would just really help out the plants. This is my African blue basil. Out of all the different bee-loving plants we have, the bees love this the most, and it has this came from one little cutting a year ago. And I keep giving people cuttings. I am actually going to take this to the beekeeping meeting this coming Monday and take the whole plant and let people take cuttings from it because it's just huge. I need to cut it back. But look at the blackberries. We've never had this many blackberries, and of course we never had fed blackberry plants Mittleider weekly feed, and we were surprised how many blackberries there are until we opened up the refrigerator and there was a container stuffed full of blackberries and 3 bags in the freezer that our friends had harvested for us. As you can see, we have these covered also to keep the birds out. This is the spinach. You can see the spinach is done, and it let us know that it's done because it just simply died from the 90+ degree temperature while we were gone. You can see how thick this Swiss chard is and how long we've been harvesting, and it's still producing, and it's been in the 90s and mid 90s for the last several weeks now. But if you just keep taking it from the sides just like this, it'll grow up new shoots, and you just keep on harvesting it. Here's a beautiful red Swiss chard there. Here are the yellow and white onions that our friends harvested for us. They were kind enough to take them out of the garden, put them in this tub, put them in the shed, and then let them dry out. you can see that the necks are soft, and that's how you know to pull an onion, is that it will fall over. So these have been drying out for a week or two. And then we have over here on the other side the red onions. They mentioned that we had planted the red onions in the wrong place because they're quite a bit smaller. And that's probably the case because they are quite a bit smaller, but they're glad to have all these different onions. I hope this garden update has helped you kind of keep track of what we're experiencing with our Mittleider garden, and hopefully you can experience the same things. Really, I just tell people I just bought a $20 book, read the instructions, and followed the instructions. Set in the automatic watering system, weekly feed with the Mittleider weekly feed, and everything seems to grow very, very well. Also want to mention that if you are going out and if you're going to be leaving your garden in the hands of some friends, be very picky who you leave your garden with. Our friends did a fabulous job, and it makes all the difference whether you come back to a great, healthy, strong garden or a complete disaster. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if you are prepared, you shall not fear. And if you use the Mittleider gardening method, as outlined in the Mittleider gardening course book, follow the instructions step by step, you can expect beautiful harvests like this.